The Indiana Fever are making some major moves this offseason. Coach is out, the free agency rumors are hot, and one Fever player just joined Unrivaled.
Caitlin Clark fans are all going crazy and saying the same thing following the Unrivaled League's major announcement. CC will join the league and set it on fire. At least, that's what they're hoping. But is there any truth to it?
Is going on with the Indiana Fever because there has been new news almost daily of the things that they are doing during the offseason. So
now that the dust has cleared on the WNBA's tremendously successful 2024 season, fans are looking ahead to the Unrivaled League's first season. This unusual 3-on-3 competition was founded by WNBA players Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, and its inaugural season begins in January. On Monday, Unrivaled made a significant announcement regarding their most recent roster acquisition, Las Vegas Aces guard Kate Martin. Martin spent 5 years with the Iowa Hawkeyes, where she had the opportunity to play with Indiana Fever great Caitlin Clark, until the Aces picked her in the second round of the 2024 WNBA draft. Martin and Clark built a strong friendship during their time together in Iowa, and they remain close friends to this day. This is why many Clark supporters feel Unrivaled's choice to sign Martin was intended to entice the reigning Rookie of the Year to join the league. According to prior rumors, the Unrivaled League is considering a sweeping Lionel Messi-like offer to entice Clark to join the league. This refers to Messi's contract with Major League Soccer, MLS, which involves a large salary, some ownership, and income sharing. Clark will certainly not earn anywhere like Messi's $150 million contract with MLS, but it looks that Unrivaled is doing all possible to entice the 22-year-old. The supporters believe that adding Kate Martin is another step toward this ambitious goal. But that isn't all, as they have just added a Fever player to the lineup as well. And now the Indiana Fever supporters have a player representing their team in the new Unrivaled League, which might indicate that Caitlin Clark is next.
And speaking of Indiana Fever players, Lexi Hall was just announced as the 29th player to join Unrivaled League. And now this is actually the first Indiana Fever player who will be playing in Unrivaled.
While the new Unrivaled 3x3 Women's Basketball League's 30-member roster is virtually complete, there has been more speculation about one player who has yet to be named than the 29 who have already been. Of course, this one player is Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever standout. Despite Unrivaled's well-known efforts to attract Clark to the league, which will debut on January 17th in Miami, the financial incentives offered to her do not appear to be compelling the 22-year-old. However, Unrivaled has additional recruitment strategies at its disposal, which it appears they are now utilizing.
The one other thing that I think is so interesting, however, about these Unrivaled announcements is now they have one player left, right? But within the last 3 announcements, one of them has been Kate Martin and one of them has been Lexi Hall. And those are 2 women who are good friends with Caitlin Clark. Now, has Unrivaled known that they were going to play this entire time and they were saving them until the end? Were they using these announcements to try to leverage Caitlin? Are they using them as a lead up to the announcement of Caitlin Clark being that 30th player, which, as we know, we haven't heard anything yet if she will be playing or not, but we know that Unrivaled was doing their last push with this huge offer that they were supposedly making her.
Unrivaled revealed on Monday that Las Vegas Aces star Kate Martin, Clark's Iowa teammate and current best friend, will compete in the event. On Wednesday, it was confirmed that Fever wing Lexi Hall, with whom Clark has developed a strong bond this season, will also play in the league. With these 2 recent announcements and only one player still to be named, people on social media are asking if this would help persuade Clark. Based on some of the off-season videos, Lexi Hall is an amazing way to try and get Caitlin Clark to be number 30 in Unrivaled, a user remarked on X. Another fan added, "Last player is coming on the heels of Money Martin, Aaliyah Edwards, and Lexi Hull? I mean, it's gotta be CC, right?" Imagine that was part of Caitlyn's negotiating, that she'll play, but they have to offer Lexi as well, added a third. Hopefully, supporters will not have to wait long to find out whether the 30th player is the adored Fever legend.
So the biggest update with the team is, of course, that Coach Christy Sides is fired. Now, the interesting part about the Indiana Fever's announcement of them firing Coach Christy Sides is the tweet that they put out. So they simply said, "We have parted ways with head coach Christy Sides." And they put up the tweet and they used a photo of her looking very focused in the game. Now, if you have been following basketball during the internet era, then you know that this isn't the typical way that teams announce that they have parted ways, that they have fired, that they have whatever with a coach, unless a coach has done something blatantly wrong to make it a bigger story. But from what we know with Coach Christy Sides, it didn't seem like there was any bad blood between her and players. It didn't seem like the team had locker room issues. It didn't seem like she broke any rules. So a lot of people were a little taken aback by this tweet, saying like that was kind of a cold way to announce that you fired your coach.
Next to the unrivaled news, there have also been reports coming out diving deeper into the behind the scenes at the Fever under former coach Sides. And while many thought Sides and Clark couldn't get along, there appears to be no evidence that we are aware of that Christy Sides had a troubled connection with Caitlin Clark or any of her former Indiana Fever teammates.
The way that the Indiana Fever parted ways with Coach Christy Sides had a lot of people wondering what was really going on behind the scenes in the Indiana Fever locker room, like what was really going on. Now, Christy Sides also tweeted out shortly after the announcement was made, and she said, "Leave it better than you found it," which was also kind of cryptic. Christy Sides isn't really too active on social media, so this was a rare post from her, but maybe she was blindsided by this news. Maybe she thought that she would be returning. Maybe she thought that she did a great job.
According to all reports, the organization's decision to terminate her was motivated by the team's desire to have someone at the helm who is capable of potentially guiding the Fever to a title in the near future. This does not imply that there were no heated times between Sides and her former players during her time as the team's head coach. After all, this is how coach-player interactions should function. A coach cannot always agree with what his or her players say or do, and vice versa. In a recent interview on the Ringer WNBA show, Fever player Lexi Hull talked about one occasion during practice where Sides and Clark had the rest of the squad dying. Clark apparently didn't appreciate Sides' loud music, and the Fever rookie made it clear. "There was one practice Christy turns on loud music," Hull said, "because we knew the opposing arena was going to be loud, and so she turns on this loud music, and Caitlin screams, 'Can someone turn it off? It's giving me a migraine.' And everyone's like, 'Oh, what?' And Christy reacted and said, 'What did you say?' Caitlin repeated it. And all of us were all dying because if I would have said that, if anyone on our team would have said that, and then been asked, 'What did you say?' and you repeat it, no one else is repeating it. But she did." Lexi recalls a humorous interaction with Caitlin and Sides. Hull did admit that it was the funniest thing, and that the players were rolling on the ground laughing. However, that is no longer relevant. Regardless of how Clark and the rest of the Fever feel about Sides, or vice versa, everyone must now move on. Clark only played under Sides for one season, but it was one to remember. The Fever phenom broke multiple records in way to winning WNBA Rookie of the Year and leading Indiana to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. Clark will now start her second season in the league with a new head coach, with former Connecticut Sun coach Stephanie White being the most widely reported possibility. And that combination will certainly bring in more fans. One this is sure though, that is that the Caitlin Clark effect is a truly genuine event. The name was developed to characterize the Indiana Fever star's indisputable economic influence on women's basketball, which began in college and continued through her recent WNBA Rookie of the Year season. The #1 overall pick's remarkable rise has sparked unparalleled interest in women's basketball. Ticket and jersey sales, home attendances, social media engagement, and TV viewership skyrocketed last season as the Steph Curry of women's basketball pounded down three-pointers and smashed record after record. According to a recent analysis, the WNBA was able to generate $136 million in sponsor advertising value during the 2024 regular season, mostly because to Clark. The Caitlin Clark effect benefited brands greatly, with Fever games accounting for 45% of overall broadcast value. The news arrived during a period of turmoil for the Fever. They just announced that they were parting ways with head coach Christy Sides. Sides went 33-47 in her 2 seasons with the squad and 2020 this season, leading the Fever to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. However, Clark and the Fever were knocked out of the WNBA playoffs in the first round by the Connecticut Sun, and they are now closely associated with the Sun's recently departed head coach, Stephanie White. The 2023 WNBA Coach of the Year grew raised in Indiana, won an NCAA title at Purdue, played for the Fever, and was previously in Indianapolis's hot seat in 2015 and 2016. The former pro-turned-coach joins Connecticut in 2023 after 5 years at Vanderbilt, where he guided the Sun to consecutive WNBA semifinal appearances. Fever franchise Face Clark was recently questioned about White, who also works as an ESPN commentator and has covered several Hawkeyes games. She's obviously called a lot of my games all throughout college, and I think she has a really great basketball mind, Clark told reporters. I think she's done a great job calling college games. It's been great to see her on NBA games. I think what she's done is she obviously has been a trailblazer, honestly. I think she's somebody who's been supportive of my game, and it's been fun to talk to her at shoot-arounds throughout my college career and has always been really supportive. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is it's fun going up against her here now for my first time after her calling a lot of my games. Now I get to play against her, so that's going to be a lot of fun for the both of us. White's hiring would be the most recent development in the WNBA's coaching rotation. 7 of the league's teams presently have no coaches in place. After letting White go, the Sun became the 8th team to change coaches this offseason, joining Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago, Washington, Los Angeles, and Indiana. The future WNBA season begins in May 2025 and might see the regular season stretch to 44 games. Prior to it, 30 of the W's finest players will compete in a new professional 3-on-3 basketball league dubbed Unrivaled. The initiative, led by 2024 WNBA Finals opponents Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, is scheduled to begin in January in Miami and will be contested by 6 teams over 8 weeks, including playoffs. The $100 million TNT sports-backed league, which has already signed stars such as Reese, Brittany Griner, and Kelsey Plum, is said to be all in on Clark. League officials are negotiating a Lionel Messi-like deal to bring Clark on board, although she has yet to confirm if she would fill the final vacant position. What do you think? Will she join Unrivaled?